they came from World Bank, and they saw 1337, and they say, "What's 1337?" I said, "It's an amazing school in Morocco, in partnership with 42." They said, "Okay, we'll be in Morocco, so could we just come and visit and know more about your students?" So they are here. The floor is yours. I will not present you. You are more able and more where to present yourself. So thank you for being here, for coming from France and from many other places around the world to present to us where is World Bank, where is your stories, and where's everything you can share with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So how much time do we have? Okay, so so comment? No, they have to stand. They have to stand. No, but we are seated all day. That's one thing about the World Bank. Who knows the World Bank? You? Who? You? So can you tell us what you know about the World Bank? So who knows about the World Bank?
Je connais juste quelques détails. Donc, c'est une institution, comme il a dit, mondiale, qui finance des projets pour lutter contre la pauvreté, déjà. Des projets surtout des projets dans l'énergie, j'ai vu aussi. Donc, c'est dans tout ce qui est dans le développement durable. C'est le mot que je cherchais.
Bravo, bravo. So are you sure I continue in English? English is much better. So, I mean, to make a long story short, the World Bank, it's a cooperative of 189 countries that came together after the Second World War to help a nation prioritize their development objective. And at the time, the World Bank, the first client of the World Bank, so the first government that asked to borrow from the World Bank was France to help build and do all the reconstruction effort in France after the war. And today, I mean, exactly as you said, today many other countries are actually benefiting from the World Bank. And so the way we actually work with government, like we did for this mission, we request kindly to the government whether we can come to provide technical or financial assistance. And when we agree with the government on a specific priority, as you say, we have two priorities. One is to reduce extreme poverty for the bottom 40%, so the poorest of the poor. And the second one, which is actually the one we are working the most on, is to share prosperity. So the wealth that is being created in a country, we are helping the authority and the private sector to redistribute that wealth and this opportunity to more people. And I think that school 1337 is exactly that, because, you know, we've just been here for 20 minutes, and I can tell you I'm amazed by the quality of the infrastructure. I'm sure you're also all very bright people, and to us it's really a school of opportunity. And that's why we came here. We drove for 3 hours from Rabat. After that, we'll drive back. But I think it was really worth it, because what we are trying to do with this visit is, first of all, to get as much as energy from you guys to understand, you know, what's going to be the future of Morocco. But it's also to bring back some good ideas, so we can advise the government to do more of this type of initiative. And I know that OCP Group is doing a lot of effort, but it's also the responsibility of the government to also invest massively in digital skills, but also in creating equal opportunities for the youth. So this is in a nutshell what we do. To give you a specific example of type of project that we have in Morocco, so we are part of a team at the World Bank that is called the Finance, Competitiveness and Innovation Global Practice. One of our core mandates in this department is to look at entrepreneurship and innovation. And we have a flagship program which is called the Digital Economy for Africa, and I will come back to that. And one of the key pillars is how can we scale trainings for young people when it comes to digital skills. And I think that you are the essence of what would a digital skills program look like. And at the moment, we have a project that some of you may know. I will try because there's only 3 people that knew the World Bank, so maybe less will know about that project. It's called the Invest Fund. Who knows about this project? Nobody? So I'm just going to explain quickly what is this project about, because I'm sure many of you will be interested about this opportunity. So the Invest Fund, it's a fund of the government of Morocco, which is implemented by CCG, the Credit Guarantee Company. And what this project actually do, it is supporting entrepreneurs throughout their journey from ideation. So many of you are actually working on that, trying to think about a problem, how to solve this problem, how this problem can be turned into an idea, how this idea can be developed into a product, and how can this product or service go to market. And the Invest project has 16 support structure. I'm not going to mention them all, but maybe some of you know. You have in Casa, you have La Factory, you have Impact Lab, H7 in Rabat, you have Startup Maroc. In Marrakesh, you have Cluster Menara. And each of these support structure, they specialize in vertical or in sectors. And you can go to them in case you have, because I was told that this room was for entrepreneurs or people that have business idea. You can contact the project or contact the support structure. All the information is online, and you can approach the support structure in case you have an idea you think could solve a problem that will have a market traction. And on top of the entrepreneurship support and journey, what we do is that we provide financing. So if you have an idea, not only you will be supported, but you will also be provided a grant or a soft loan so that you can go to market. And for the most successful entrepreneur, because we are in a game of celebrating failure, so it's okay to fail, it's okay to repeat. But for those that will fail, and then succeed, we have capitalized 4 investment fund. We call them venture capital fund, and they can help you fundraise money from seed to Series A, which is essentially when you want to get money of $1 million or above. So this project is open for business. It's working. You have many opportunities you can tap in. And if you have any question about this project, feel free to ask us a question, because I think then it's good if we receive questions from them. So after this long introduction, my name is Alexandre Laure. I'm a senior private sector specialist. I've been at the World Bank for 7 years, and before working at the World Bank, I was an entrepreneur in East Africa. I have a business and political science background, so I'm very far and I'm very incompetent in probably a lot of the things that you are doing, but I understood that there is no minimum criteria in terms of your background, the diploma. So I'm sure you can also teach us some stuff today. I'll get back to my background and what we do, but before I'll give the floor to Simon. And thank you very much for having us here.
Hi, so my name is Simon, and I recently joined the Moroccan team working on Invest. And previously I was working mainly in West Africa. I was based in Mali, in Bamako. And yeah, so what I can say is that I love the vibes of Morocco, and even more the vibes of this place. I'm really amazed, like Alexandre, and I can't wait to discover more about you.
السلام عليكم. عربية ولا اوكي. اوكي، أسامة أورحو. تزاديت في كازا وكبرت هنا. دايوغ كبرت في خريبكا، جي باسي 12 في خريبكا. ما كنقولهاش بزاف، دونك دابا اللي جيت غنقولها، مي سينو ما. اوكي، سي بلوس. Ouais, c'est juste que j'ai passé 10 ans de ma vie ici à Khouribga. Ah bon? Ouais. Voilà, je dis pas en général. D'ailleurs, ça serait marrant de leur demander. It would be fun to ask them later just to pronounce the name of the city, because we spent like we spent all the trip trying to work on this. So, so okay. Anyways, Oussama Ourahou, I just joined the team. So Simon was working with in the World Bank, but in a different office. I just joined the World Bank. So joining Alex's team, working in Morocco and generally the MENA region, so Arab-speaking countries from Middle East and North Africa. Right before I studied in Morocco, and then I did my preparatory classes in Morocco in Moulay Yousf, then joined the Polytechnique. So after Polytechnique, the first thing in Paris. Then the first thing I did is that I went for. At the beginning, I was very research oriented, so I was so my master is in electrical engineering, so not software, but mostly hardware, so PCB and all the microelectronics. I went to Japan for a first experience there in a lab in PV photovoltaics, and then I started switching, trying to work on subject that would interest me more. And right after that, I went to Dubai to try something less technical and more business oriented. And now I worked on oil, on like Saudi government, like MBS projects and things like that you might heard of. And now I just joined the team with the World Bank, so I'm like really happy because I'm working on projects that I really care about. So it's entrepreneurship in the region. And so thank you for having me here, and I'm really impressed by all the. I didn't know that Khouribga turned out to be just like this 10 years after that. So thank you.
I have one question. I don't know whether they force you to come, but it's an amazing attendance. What Oussama didn't mention is that, you know, like the question people always ask is, how do you end up in such a large bureaucracy, you know, because we work on entrepreneurship, on fun stuff, but the World Bank is like it's like a giant administration of 17,000 people in 120 plus countries. We are lucky because they are both in Paris. I am based in Beirut in Lebanon. We used to be in Bamako, Mali, and before in Washington. So we are very lucky because we often say that the World Bank is like a travel agency. You know, it helps you move around. And even like for us, you know, like you would not even believe we're being paid to talk to you, in the sense that this is our job, going around speaking to the brightest people around the world, and this is actually our job. And if you look at his background, his parents were teachers. His parents were farmers, and my parents are from a medical doctor and a nurse. So you can be from a teaching background, farming background, from medical background, and you can end up in the banking sector, and in a banking sector that is actually trying to make a difference in the toughest country in the world. Because in fact, we are lucky working in Morocco, but I'm sure you know that a bit more in the south of the continent, you have countries like in the Sahel region, where things are actually very complicated. We also work a lot in Iraq, where in terms of security, the moves are also very complicated. So we move from countries where, you know, you see sometimes, let's say, the worst of humanity, in the sense that it's conflict, post-conflict, and then you move to a country like Morocco, where there is an incredible vibe. You have a development model in this country, which I think is quite well diversified when you look at all the countries in the Middle East and North Africa region, from Morocco to Iraq. Morocco is actually one of the countries that is really trying to diversify its sources of growth and also preparing the next generation. Because it's not only about having the vision and the money, it's to really to try to build the skills that will be able to execute that vision. And I think that even though the school here is quite recent, that's exactly what the school is about, is creating the broad-based talent pool so that the Morocco of tomorrow has the right people and is equipped to actually succeed. Actually, I don't know where we could take the conversation. Maybe you have some question, because we tend to, that's one of our weakness, we tend to talk too much. That's what most of the people are telling us. I don't know if you want to know more about us, or if you want to know more about our work, but we'll be happy to answer any question that you have. And then we can go back to one of our core strategy, which I mentioned before, the digital economy for Africa, so that we can run through you the strategy and maybe get your feedback and your reaction, and some maybe also good practical ideas that we can take back in Rabat and then in Paris and Beirut, so that when we think about what should we be doing next in Morocco, it's not only us as bureaucrats with the government who are also bureaucrats, that are trying to think about the future, but it's also thinking about what we would have learned today from you and how we can use what you will tell us to advise better the government. Except if Simon or Oussama, you want to say something more? Non, c'est bon? Qui c'est qui a une question?
Le projet, il s'appelle comment? Parce que je voudrais noter le Innovate and...
Sur cette page-là, vous aurez les 16 structures d'accompagnement à travers le pays qui sont partenaires du fonds. Et vous aurez aussi les fonds d'investissement. Il y en a 4 qui sont partenaires d'Innovinvest, qui recherchent activement des jeunes à très fort talent dans lesquels investir. Qui c'est qui a une question? Il n'y aura pas de piège, hein?
Okay, I would like to thank you for coming. This is like the first thing, and what I would like to ask is like the World Bank, does it support the kind of a non-profit projects? Because after finishing my courses, I'm willing to, after even making my startup, I'm willing to start non-profit projects. And does like this kind of like of projects are supported by the World Bank?
Hello, thank you very much for coming today. The World Bank was created as a non-profit organization at first, and I think up to now it is still a philanthropic organization to some point. Why does it get such a bad publicity on the world stage?
Hey, thank you for coming. I really want to know, how can a tech guy access the banking world? Like, it's very scary for us, or at least for me. I really want to know the démarche to access the banking world for a tech guy like us or like me. Thank you.
Okay. So how do I start? Vous voulez, hein? Tu me... Mais en fait, il faudrait que je prenne des notes. Redis-moi. Hein? Ouais, okay. So in English, I'm going to answer. The thing is that there is not a short answer. So the way we work, and it will link a bit to the second question, but I'll let Simon answer. The World Bank, it's 5 institutions. We are mostly working on de-risking the government, and 2 institutions which are called the International Finance Corporation, IFC, and MIGA. They are there to de-risk the private sector. What it means is that any project that we have, it's the government that borrows to the World Bank. And when the government wants to come to borrow to the World Bank, they tell us, this is the objective of the project that we want to finance. And there is many projects which are looking at social sector. So the short answer is the World Bank does not directly finance or support social sector, non-profit, social businesses, or this type of project. But we do indirectly finance thousands of projects like that. In Morocco, we have a project that was just approved, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. It's on creating opportunity for youth, and there it's very much open to income generating activity, to association, non-profit type of project. But it is the government that will create the instrument. In the case of Innovinvest, the government, they say we have an objective. The objective is to provide financing for innovators. We want to provide financing for technology startups. And so we work with them to create an instrument that is called Innovinvest. If you give our contact, or if you go on LinkedIn, we can always follow the discussion. But I am sure that in Morocco, we do have projects that could cater for some of the idea that you have. It is not in the Innovinvest, but there is not one project of the World Bank in Morocco. I think there is 15 or 20 of them. They are at national level, but some projects, we have a very large project with the city of Casablanca, which is at the municipal level as well. So the projects are both at the national and the municipal level, but it's always guaranteed by the state. So we don't support directly. It is always through project. In very few instances, we would provide technical assistance directly to a civil society movement. And just to give you an example, I think it was 1 month ago, the innovation ecosystem of Morocco gathered together around what they call les Assises de la Startup, where it was convened by association, non-profit, but that are trying to promote innovation, that are trying to promote entrepreneurship in the country. And so in the context of that effort, the World Bank, us as a team, we are happy to provide support, which we provide on a pro bono basis. And it will link actually to the second question.
Okay, so about your question. So first of all, congrats, because you're well informed. You know that the World Bank has some kind of reputational issues sometimes. So I think there are 3 answers to your question. The first, and I will quote our boss, Alex, who always says that in any ambitious project, if nothing goes wrong, there is a problem, actually. Because it means that nothing, either the project is not actually being implemented, or nothing is happening, or that the problems are undercover and they are hidden. So I think that's the first thing, because actually what we didn't tell you is that the World Bank is managing projects worth about $75 billion globally. So
just in 70 countries, IDA countries.
Yeah, in IDA, yeah. In the poorest countries. But so we can say even more than that. So imagine on projects that go from a road being built in the middle of Morocco to a dam that is built in Congo, to fiscal reforms that change completely the tax system of Lebanon. So it's really diverse kinds of projects. So you can imagine that even if you prepare well and you do things well, many bad stuff can happen. For example, especially the elephant in the room is infrastructure. When you build a road, sometimes people get displaced, or sometimes workers on the road, unfortunately, have accidents or stuff like that. So we prepare a lot of safeguards to make sure that if these things happen, then there are compensations and people are not harmed. But still, you can't prevent, if you do projects, you have problems. So I think then the press is keen, the global press is keen on highlighting, oh, that the World Bank built a road on this village, got problems because of the World Bank. So I think this is the first kind of reputational issue we face. But we try our best not to have this kind of problems. But if we wanted to avoid this kind of problems, we wouldn't build roads or dams anymore, and it would be a problem for development. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing, let me think. I had 3 ideas. Well, I will go to the third directly. So second thing we can say is about the kind of ideas we have. Of course, our ideas are more or less in favor of a regulated market economy. So I'm sure you didn't study, I'm not sure you studied economics, but what a market economy is we believe in businesses creating jobs and creating welfare, but regulated businesses. And of course, many people in the world don't believe in that kind of ideas. They think that business is not always positive, that we should be more careful with business. And I think that's a big criticism that we face, is that we push developing countries to be in favor of companies and be in favor of helping businesses grow. For example, Innovinvest project, if you take a step back, you could think that it's really liberal, that it's really too much business, that we help youth to create businesses. It's if you're a communist, for example, you don't believe in that. So I think that's the second big criticism. And yeah, the last one. I need to find it back. Huh? Yeah, I will find it in the meantime.
No, I mean, one thing that you mentioned about we are non-profit or philanthropic, it's more complex than that, in the sense that, as I say, we are cooperative. Some country at the World Bank give money, and some country benefit from money. And every money that we make as a World Bank, because it's a sustainable financial institution, is reinvested in the poorest country. So in fact, we don't make money. We make money, but the money is always reinvested for the country that have the most problem, that are in conflict, etc. But if you look at the financial statement of the World Bank, it's online. It's actually making a lot of money, because our biggest clients are China, Brazil, and this type of country, which are actually very well developed. They borrow money from us mostly for the technical advice. They don't borrow for the money because they could have access to cheap money. So they are happy to pay more money, so that the money we make on them will then go to the poorest country. And I think what I wanted to complement on what he said is that the reason why the World Bank was very well criticized in the 90s is, as you know, you had the collapse of all the communist bloc in the world. And so from one day to the other, you had many countries that didn't have access to the money of the big brother, which was Russia. And so they turned to the World Bank and the IMF, and they say, we are broke. How can we go about it? And so, as Simon said, the first thing that we look at in a country is, like, for you, if you make $1, it's not good if you spend $2. So we always say you need to have a balanced budget. And those countries, because it was state-driven, so it was satellite country, one country makes all the money, Russia, for all the other countries, they needed to become autonomous in terms of budget, in terms of planning, etc. And so, because it was seen as a Western mindset coming from the America, you had a lot of pushback, because from one day to the other, the world was divided between America and Russia, and then it's all about America. Now it's about America and China, but we can talk more. We can talk more about that. And the last thing, in fact, is, and I think it's important to say it because people, they don't understand, we are the biggest public good institution in the world. Everything that we do is public. Even this meeting, we'll put it in a report, it's filed online, it becomes a public document. We have the largest statistic database in the world, and you have the easiest way for any development institution to complain if something goes wrong. For example, or to be hacked. But we are working a lot on security. But and actually, if one of you can hack the bank, please send me an email for a prize. That will actually be an interesting thing. But what I want to say is that, in fact, if someone wants to complain, even if the project is good, they have the right to complain. And we have the redevabilité, so we have the obligation to address, even if it's to say your complaint is not real or it is important. And because we are dealing with very serious stuff. In fact, Innovinvest is cool. It's about innovation. It's about entrepreneurship. But as you mentioned, when you do construction work, and you will be surprised, but just go on the World Bank website. For any construction works that the World Bank finance, we request for the worker to be insured. They need to have the right equipment. They even need, we do, you say that, sensitization about, sexually transmitted disease. Because when you have workers in the middle of nowhere in a village, the first thing that happens is a sex worker, it's a disease, and it's infant pregnancy. And all this, we're actually mitigating that. So, and for you, you would know about the project you're working on, etc. There is no zero risk. There is always a risk, but you just need a plan. And the plan doesn't matter, because even if your plan is going to happen, shit will happen. So what is important is to be able to mitigate the risk. And if something happens, you will see that the World Bank, I think as an institution, is very accountable, because I can tell you that for me as a project leader and many of our colleagues, if something goes wrong, we get basically sacked, punished. There is redevabilité, there is accountability, and it's easy for the civil society to take advantage of that, because we open everything, and we even go, when we do a project, we go everywhere to say the road is going to come there. If anything happens, please come to complain. So that's one of the reasons a World Bank project will make a lot of noise, because we are all about mitigating risk, which is a cooperative. It's all about mitigating risk. Tu voulais rajouter quelque chose avant d'avancer?
I had one last thing is, of course, development problems. That's what we are working on. It's hard to crack the code, as you would say. I mean, it's always hard to crack a code, but this one is really difficult. Like how to end poverty in Morocco, it's not a one-line answer. We have actually to try things, because we don't have a long history of development. If you look back at the history of humanity, like for most of the time, the world was poor. So we don't have much background on how to end poverty. And unfortunately, in our institutions, on our clients, on our partners, they don't always have the mindset that you have. The mindset of failure is okay, iteration is really important, to try, to fail, to try again, try other things. It's not really embedded yet. So, of course, we fail, and when we fail, we are punished hard by the world. And we learn. Yeah, we learn, but then, of course, the press coverage is bad. It's as if every time you make a mistake on your line of code, you have the press saying to you, to all your family, oh, he made a mistake in his line of code. I mean, but it's more complex than that. But just to see that, and that's why we are always a bit stressed in our team, because we are in between your world, where we see a lot of failure is okay, a lot of we must iterate, try again, work in progress. And in our world, it's not the case. So we are a lot in between, and I'm sure in the coming years and coming decades, the public policy world will learn a lot from the design world, where you have to iterate and fail.
No, I just want to, because that will be a good transition. He mentioned ending poverty. So our actual objective is that by the time I retire, I will lose my job because we would have ended poverty. And this is actually the hardcore mandate of the bank. And people, and it's very rare that the objective of an institution is to disappear. That's the objective of the World Bank. We are there for a specific purpose. And if we are able to solve that issue, which is a very complex one, the role of the World Bank will either be obsolete all be a different one, you know, because we have many researchers, many other people working at the World Bank, but the role of borrowing to government to end poverty, we are hoping that by the time I retire, I'll be out of a job. But you still need to apply.
Okay, so I'll answer your question of how to value like your experience and how to end up in a banking environment. This is the question, right? Okay, so maybe Alex would answer at the end because he's the one recruiting. I was just recruited, so he knows best who he's looking for. But from my experience from engineering school and what I had after is that when I was in engineering school, all the hard skills I had acquired was seen as useless. So, I mean, I was able to like draw like electronic circuits or like code, like work on robotics, but I couldn't see how it could be useful for a good job. And then what happened is that in Dubai and now I can see that the need for engineers, for software engineering and for data scientists is crazy, and there's nobody there to do the job. So how you end up, so there's two things. First, you need to realize how much it's important and how much value each of you have. Because I was in that mindset of this is useless and something useful would be like working on this project. So something useful would be doing what everyone is doing, so being engaged in this kind of project. And then you realize that this is a very rare asset, like really rare, even though we wouldn't realize it because so now we're at a coding school and everyone can code, right? So you wouldn't be like, yeah, I can, if one of you, nobody can differentiate from the other just because he can read a language or he can like have good logic, algorithmic design thinking. But out there, there's so much, it's so much rare that you can't even imagine how much the market in general is in need. I remember when I was in a consulting firm, they were looking all over for someone who can just like have a proper machine learning background just for like primary limited linear regression, or like this is basic stuff that we did in engineering school, and this was so rare that for them when I was working, I had a very valuable asset. So it's the same thing in the bank. Honestly, there's not much data or like engineering, and it would be so much useful to work on that. So the thing is, first is to really know that even though between each other, it's not that everyone can code, okay, but out there, there's not that much of you. And the second thing is to work on the network. So the thing is that you need to be aware of what you can add, put on the table, and then contact the right person who is looking for it. So I am sure that like each person who have, I don't know, like 3 years of best practice coding will end up, won't have any problems. Once he has created this link to this recruiter, won't have any problem having an added value in the firm. And it's way much added value than someone who is basically, okay, he's on the field, he's very operational, but he's lacking the background and there's nothing he can do. I mean, if you put like 1 month into reading a report, you can understand the complexity of like a project. But if someone else put 1 month into coding, he wouldn't be able to get the platform or to fix wherever. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. Maybe Alex would really answer the real, how can we get recruited? So.
No, but that's a very good point. Like, you know, like you could be a freelancer at the end of your journey at 1337. You could become an employee. You could become an entrepreneur, self-employed, and creating opportunity for others. And I think that you will have the choice. As they say, if you just want to be an employee, very well paid, I'm putting my arm here that you will all be employed because, in fact, not only in Morocco, but everywhere in the world, they will employ you because that's the skills that is needed for tomorrow. And as you said, for example, at the World Bank, one of the jobs that we're hiring the most, it's on dev, data sciences, machine learning. That's what we need because, as I say, we have the largest database in the world. Nobody has a clue how to make a good use of it. So you can think of yourself how I will enter like World Bank or the banking sector using your skill. You know, any commercial bank today, they are crazy about dev to work on fintech. to work on predicting customer behavior. So you can enter in the banking world through a technical lens. But I think also what Oussama wants to say is that depending on what you choose, you have to be aware that the technical skills is one thing, but that you can probably widen your opportunity or discover new opportunity if you become self-aware as well of your soft skills, which is, I am sure, something you're also doing quite a lot, because I heard that there is club, so you're organizing yourself on this topic. I saw people playing PES or FIFA. So this is like the soft skills. How do I relate to the other? How I am able to, give the right instruction to my colleague? How can I work in team? Because any project you can deliver it alone, but if you want to go a long way with your project, sometimes it's better to be 2, 3, or 4. Also to develop the give back, which I think is one thing that is happening in your club. If I am better than someone, there is no point to smash the guy that doesn't know or know less. It's always good to bring them up. Never be jealous. But the good thing, honestly, like if we were in front of people that wanted to become a psychology, philosopher, poet, etc., I will tell you, I'm sorry, you're gonna have a hard time finding anything in your life. For you, you're gonna have probably too much choice. So it's really, what do you want to do? And I think it's a matter of character. Some people, they don't like too much responsibility. Some other people is exactly the contrary. On our job, sometimes we travel too much. As I say, like this year, we just travel too much. It seems fun, but at some point, it's a bit, you just get fatigue. So if you know what you want to do, you honestly, you are very well equipped to succeed in any path that you will decide. And also you are a generation that will change jobs so many times in their life. And even that the definition of jobs, at first we came here to talk about the future of work and the role of digital skills in it. And essentially what we are saying in our World Development Report, it is our flagship report that we have every year, is just the definition of jobs doesn't make any sense anymore. It's how would you use the time that you have, and honestly, not be selfish, but really try to prioritize what you want to do, where you feel the most comfortable, and how you want to grow. Is there more question?
Just about that, one thing is the website, 80,000 hours. I really advise you with this website. It's a career guide, but really of thinking out of the box. 80,000 hours, because we have to spend 80,000 hours in our career working. So this is to make the most of it.
And unfortunately, I mean, you're all too bright and you're working on your own stuff. But I'll be happy to see with the school how we could partner on a project, either when you come out of the school, or if it is something that you can do on your spare time. Because I understood that you can choose the pace at which you actually do what you do. So that's also something, if you're really interested and that you want us to brainstorm on a project that you think that is valuable. Remember, it has to be something that has a development bottom line, something that is useful for the people of Morocco. But we'll be very happy to and we're open to that discussion, so that we can work with you on developing something. And we have a lot of projects. Maybe Oussama will come to that. But this is something we'll be very happy to do with you, obviously, if the school and the directors allow. So you already spoke, so maybe someone, and then we'll come back to you.
Merci d'être venu. Merci aussi de tout ce que vous avez pu partager avec nous jusqu'à présent. Et la question que je vais poser, c'est une question qui me tient à cœur depuis que je suis petit. Donc, en fait, nous sommes un pays, nous produisons notre monnaie et il arrive à un moment donné qu'on a besoin d'argent. Pourquoi on a besoin d'argent alors que nous avons notre propre monnaie et on est obligé d'aller emprunter de l'argent à par exemple, aux États-Unis, eux, ils utilisent le dollar, par exemple, et ici, nous utilisons le dirham. Donc, j'ai le dirham, je produis le dirham, et à un moment donné, j'ai des projets, je voudrais les réaliser. Et comment je ne peux pas trouver de l'argent? Pourtant, je produis de l'argent. Et je dois emprunter le dollar. Pourtant, je produis le dirham. Pourquoi je dois emprunter le dollar pour payer mes employés qui sont marocains?
Okay, my question is about cryptocurrency. I would like to ask what is the policy of the World Bank about cryptocurrency, and how does it see like cryptocurrency as like does it see it as the future, or it is disturbing actually the economy of the world?
As a follow-up to the answers that you guys provided, so basically the World Bank is in front of a Cornelian choice. Okay, it has to encourage the invisible hand of Adam Smith in some sense. It has to encourage liberalism too in some sense. But when it comes to the liability and the responsibility in front of the project, I think the World Bank is only responsible as the implementation of the project goes. But if the World Bank is lenient when it gives credits when it gives credits and loans to other countries, it is basically a death sentence in itself, because the projects are not gonna pay themselves. And then these creditors will have to pay in another way. So basically, this opportunity to leverage one's resources by the use of the World Bank is in many cases a death sentence, especially if the actuarial research in that project is not deep enough and it's not good enough.
Till now, I understood that the World Bank gives two ways of help to the countries. For the aid countries, we give money, and for the developed countries, we give assistance. Can I know what type of assistance we give to development country? Because I have no idea how it's going on.
Juste une question rapide, c'est ce que vous avez dit que la Banque mondiale elle a la plus grande base de données. Donc, je veux savoir d'où est-ce que vous prenez déjà cette base. Est-ce que c'est à partir des anciens projets? Est-ce que vous l'utilisez soit dans le conseil que vous donnez aux autres pays? Donc, est-ce que vous utilisez cette base de données?
Ce qu'on va faire, c'est qu'on va essayer d'un peu couvrir tout. Non, comme ça, je vais essayer d'aller le plus vite possible. Bon, les deux premières questions sur le exchange. Bon, moi, je suis pas un économiste monétaire, donc je pourrais pas aller trop dans le détail. Mais ce que je peux dire, c'est avant tout en fait, c'est une interdépendance entre les États. En fait, c'est très compliqué de se dire qu'un pays, par exemple, produit sa monnaie et c'est très compliqué de se dire un pays produit sa monnaie et le produit en fait comme s'il était sur une île déserte et qu'il n'avait pas besoin d'interagir avec les autres. Et donc, par exemple, quand on voit la plupart des banques centrales à travers le monde, qui sont d'ailleurs autonomes des gouvernements, chaque banque centrale va avoir son objectif. Un de ses principaux objectifs, c'est toujours la stabilité de sa monnaie par rapport au pays, par exemple, avec lequel elle commerce le plus. Okay, donc en fait, c'est pour ça qu'on se retrouve des fois dans des situations où des banques centrales vont avoir des politiques monétaires qui peuvent paraître très dures ou au contraire de la planche à billets, parce que ça va dépendre principalement de son objectif. Est-ce qu'elle veut maintenir une stabilité pour attirer des investissements à l'étranger et donc maintenir une sorte de parité entre sa monnaie locale et par exemple le dollar, qui est en fait la monnaie la plus utilisée dans le monde, ou est-ce qu'au contraire, elle veut en fait mettre plus de monnaie pour booster son économie et donc du coup dévaluer sa monnaie pour peut-être rendre ses produits plus compétitifs à l'export. Mais en sachant que si c'est un pays qui importe, ça lui coûtera beaucoup plus cher du fait de la dévaluation d'importer un pays, d'apporter un produit. Après, la question, j'ai pas très bien compris sur les employés, le fait qu'on paye des employés localement, par exemple en dollars. En fait, c'est assez simple, c'est que c'est soit d'ailleurs c'est une exigence qu'on peut négocier dans un contrat, ça peut être aussi être une monnaie de refuge. Donc souvent le dollar ou l'euro, on sait à peu près qu'on prend pas trop de risques en payant quelqu'un dans cette monnaie-là. Et nous d'ailleurs à la Banque Mondiale, on a autant de monnaies dans lesquelles on est payé pour nos salaires que de pays que l'on couvre. Et moi j'ai des collègues, ils me disent, attends, d'une année sur l'autre, Washington, ça me coûte 3 fois plus cher. Il faut demander à la Turquie, par exemple. Il faut demander au Nigeria. Donc, c'est des collègues qui touchent le même salaire, mais comparé à s'ils viennent en Europe ou en Amérique du Nord, ils sont 3 fois plus pauvres. Donc, l'avantage d'être payé dans une monnaie de refuge, c'est une certaine stabilité. Et n'oubliez pas que ce que recherche un investisseur, ce que recherche même un être humain, c'est-à-dire que nous, en tant qu'être humain, tu ne veux pas te réveiller le matin et que d'ici la fin de la journée, tu peux plus t'acheter de pain ou des couches pour tes enfants. C'est ce qui se passe au Venezuela. Quand dans la même journée, un prix passe de 1 à 1000. Et ça, ils vivent ça tous les jours parce qu'ils sont à des dizaines de millions d'inflation à l'année. Et ça, c'est typiquement un pays, bon, comme je dis, je ne suis pas un spécialiste, mais qui gère très très mal sa politique monétaire, alors que c'est le pays qui a les plus grandes réserves en pétrole du monde, en gaz et en pétrole du monde. Donc en réalité, la richesse ou le talent où en fait, les ressources intrinsèques ne sont pas suffisantes pour réussir. C'est aussi une manière dont on exécute ces politiques publiques. Et c'est là qu'on vient donner des conseils. Et pour faire le lien avec les cryptocurrencies, on a lancé un blockchain lab il y a un peu plus d'1 an qui est opérationnel. On a même en mi-avril, la Banque Mondiale a lancé sa crypto-monnaie. Je me rappelle plus comment ça s'appelle. Hein? LearnCoin. Donc nous, on est en réalité, en fait, on est une banque. Ça va aussi couvrir ta question. On est une banque qui donne de l'argent, mais en fait, on est avant tout une banque qui séquestre beaucoup de connaissances. Donc, on a beaucoup de connaissances et en tant que parmi les institutions de développement qui essaient de plus réfléchir sur ces sujets, on s'est dit que c'était aberrant de ne pas avoir notre propre lab. Et donc, il y a des équipes à la banque, on a des équipes entières de payment system, on a des économistes absolument, des bruits épaisses en monnaie, on peut avoir les meilleurs ingénieurs du monde et toutes ces personnes, elles sont dans une équipe pour essayer de travailler sur quel va être le futur et dans l'utilisation de la blockchain dans le développement. Parce qu'en fait, ce n'est pas qu'une question de monnaie, c'est une question par exemple de marché public. Je ne sais pas si c'était Simon Oussama qui disait la Banque mondiale est pro-business, pro-compétition. Mais pourquoi? Parce qu'on est contre les rentes, on est contre l'achat des marchés publics, on est contre la corruption. Et donc la blockchain, ça permet quoi? Ça permet de commencer à mettre un doigt sur des systèmes qui aujourd'hui, il n'y a aucune traçabilité. Et la blockchain permettrait d'avoir un procurement avec des smart contracts, d'avoir des paiements dématérialisés et d'avoir tout ça retraçable et inviolable si par exemple un jour on vient vérifier, du coup l'argent il est passé où? Et avec un outil comme la blockchain, on trouverait très rapidement où est-ce que l'argent est passé, où est-ce qu'il y a eu des failles. Aujourd'hui, nous, on ne met pas en œuvre. Il y a quelqu'un qui disait on met en œuvre, en fait on supervise. Notre responsabilité, c'est pas de mettre en œuvre, c'est de superviser. Parce que quand tu vois la manière dont on rentre en relation avec un client, un gouvernement, dans une relation qui est un peu spéciale, parce qu'on est une des rares institutions au monde où ton patron, c'est aussi ton client. Donc c'est un peu difficile parce que si tu t'entends pas bien avec ton patron, il va plus te donner du business en tant que client. Si tu respectes mal ton client, il va de suite se plaindre à son patron. Mais c'est les mêmes personnes. Donc tu es un peu pris en sandwich. Nous, on n'est pas là pour mettre en œuvre. On est là pour superviser, aider à la mise en œuvre aux États. Parce que chaque État, il est souverain. Et à chaque fois, on le dit parce que les gens, par exemple, dans les controverses de la Banque mondiale, mais pourquoi on est tel pays? Pourquoi on est tel pays? Mais c'est un gouvernement horrible ou c'est un gouvernement affreux. En fait, nous, les objectifs du projet, c'est d'aider la population. C'est toujours ça l'objectif du projet. Et par exemple, la blockchain nous permettrait de dire on va aider la population sans qu'il y a trop de corruption et de pertes en ligne sur des marchés publics. Et en fait, c'est là où c'est compliqué notre job. On donne l'argent, mais on n'est pas là que pour donner l'argent. On est aussi là pour dire, prenons le temps d'apprendre de bonnes pratiques. Nous, on a un terme qu'on utilise tout le temps là, à l'usure, c'est quelles sont les best practices, les bonnes pratiques, les lessons learned, etc. Et donc, à mesure qu'on aide à mettre en œuvre un projet, qu'on le prépare et tout ça avec les gouvernements, mais on espère aussi, peut-être naïvement des fois, mais on espère aussi qu'ils adopteront petit à petit des bonnes pratiques. Et je pense que la plupart des pays le font avec le temps, parce qu'il y a une marche de l'histoire. Évidemment, quand on est sur du court terme, je ne peux pas vous convaincre, par exemple, si on avait un sujet qu'on était en désaccord, même en 2 heures, je ne peux pas vous convaincre. Peut-être qu'il faut 10 ans, il faut 20 ans, il faut 25 ans. On est, nous, dans un boulot qui va prendre une génération. Et donc, quand vous parlez de dette, est-ce que le projet est rentable ou pas? Par exemple, nous, il y a des sujets, nos projets, c'est projets de développement de secteur privé. C'est assez facile de se dire, bon, mais c'est rentable. On travaille sur Venture Capital Industry, sur l'entrepreneuriat, etc. Mais après, comme on soutient les gouvernements, on est là pour adresser ce qu'on appelle, je parle en français depuis tout à l'heure, non? Je ne me suis pas rendu compte. So, we are here to address market failure, and we are here to support public good. So, education is essentially a game that takes a generation to pay off. If you say in Mali, we lived in Mali as an adult at the age 18 in Mali, an adult has not spent 3 years in school. So if you say to the government, go from 3 years to 12 years, obviously it seems like a pure loss. But if you look after 10, 20, 30 years, at least you would have a population that can read, that can write, that can count, etc. So you have those social projects, or those, we call it human development projects, whereby we usually we don't do only loans. We actually do a lot of grants. What he mentioned, the $75 billion that we give to the poorest country, it is what? It's half of it is actually grant, so it's free money, okay? And the other half is 1% loan. So if you borrow from me, you're just basically making money, because it's a 1% loan that you start to pay after 7 to 8 years, that you repay for 40 years. So you're essentially making money out of the World Bank, compared than if you go to London, if you go to the Chinese government, where they will give you maybe 6, 7, 8, up to 12 or 14%. Even the local bank, they are giving a crazy interest rate to their own government. And I think I'm going to stop there, so my colleague can cover a bit, and I'll have more things to say later on.
La data. How do we get the data? I mean, yeah. Okay, so how do we get the data? Is of course, I mean, I think that's you. Right? You have the big answer is that because we've been doing what we are doing for decades, we've gathered a lot of data, and we have always been really demanding in terms of gathering of data. So this is one of the key points. And when I say demanding, is that we demand from the project teams to really be careful in reporting everything that they do. And that's why Alex said that, for example, after this meeting, we'll take notes, and then we'll share with our colleagues. So this is really an habit that we have always had, is to take notes, reports, what we are doing. So this is the first thing. And then we have hundreds, if not thousands, of people who only do data at the World Bank. They are economists, and they only crunch data. They gather and crunch data. So their job is to hire and train people on the ground in developing countries to do surveys, and then they gather the surveys, they crunch the data, they report, they put it online. So if you go on data, you can see that there are crazy amounts of data. It's mostly economic data, of course, because that's our job. So you will see anything, and even human development data, social data. So yeah, be curious, and you can go. So yeah, these are the two answers, I would say. Are there remaining questions?
Non, mais après, moi, sur l'IDA, là, je peux rajouter
Ah, yeah, pour la technical assistance.
Ouais,
Yeah.
dans les pays riches.
Hein?
Qu'est-ce qu'on fait dans les pays
Yeah, so your question was about technical assistance. So is it you want to know what technical assistance we provide in developing countries or in developed countries? Developed. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, maybe Alex, you want.
No, but I mean, I have a lot of like specific example. Like the government of Italy received technical assistance to fight corruption and mafia. So we have specialists at the World Bank when it comes to public sector governance, public financial management, and fighting the illicit flow. We actually have hardcore global specialists at the World Bank that can come and advise a government like the one of Italy. So that's, for example, a technical assistance that we have for a rich country. Another one that we help a lot in our team is in Greece. You know, after the issue that they have with IMF, they needed to reform their economy. And so their advisor right now to work on what we call investment climate, doing business reform, it's the World Bank, where we help them for construction permits, to be able to register property, to dematerialize, many of their administrative process. So the government of Greece requests technical assistance to the World Bank to be able to implement this reform agenda. Then in the Gulf country, like in Kuwait, in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar. So in all of this country in the Middle East, we are also providing technical assistance, and it can be on fiscal issue, like Saudi Arabia. Everything was for free for the population, and then the price oil collapsed, and they're like, oh my God, how are we gonna be able to survive? So they come to the World Bank and they say, okay, help us with the tax because we never tax anyone in our country. How can we have a tax system which is fair, which is gradual in country like Kuwait, Qatar, this country? They can ask us about sources of growth, innovation, fintech. Actually, many of the things that we provide to the poorest country is also something that the richest country will want. And this is, I think, one of the value proposition of the World Bank. Is that with Simon, we were based in Bamako, Mali, and most of our focus was on very difficult, fragile country where everything looks actually quite difficult from the outset. And then we support countries like Morocco, Lebanon, or Jordan, which have a very different narrative in terms of development, like different requests. And so then when you start to help Italy, Greece, and Saudi Arabia, it's also another ball game. But at the end, it is us as staff, the same people that comes, and that's how the knowledge flow goes up and down. It's not like you go just for poor country, you have this stuff, and you middle-income country, you have this stuff, and you rich country, you have this stuff. All the countries are facing the same problem, and the single largest problem of our country is youth unemployment. That's the only thing that creates revolution and that can take and wipe out any government anywhere in the world, whichever is his level of wealth and development. And you will see that very, very often everything that you do revolve around making sure that our young people, they have decent jobs so that they are busy, growing rather than having time on their hand to protest in the street.
Okay. English. Okay. So apart from all the data, like blockchain lab, which is based in DC, where data scientists are working, the thing is that all the projects that the World Bank is either offering assistance or implementing in fragile countries, like the projects we have in Iraq, for example, or all the projects you had in the Sahel region, there's always so the idea is to bring this digital component, because the bank believes that it will solve a lot of problems, especially for youth in employment. So to bring this digital component to all the projects, so like there's a lot of development for platforms for the youth. There's a lot of programs. So all the programs who are around entrepreneurships are of course tech programs. So like something Alex didn't mention is that, for example, for the project in Morocco, one of the conditions to have the grant or the financement from all the structures is that the idea needs to be tech oriented. So it has to be an innovative technology. So it can't be just like commerce or selling, I don't know, like opening a coffee or whatever. It needs to have an added value in technology, which is something that not a lot of people can do. And this is why there's a lack, if you compare us to whatever other country, there's a lack of potential of people who are able to choose tech. So in a lot of projects, be it with the bank or projects that the bank offers like for the country, the digital component is always present. So in Iraq, they're trying, so the entrepreneurs are like very rare in Iraq, and they're trying to encourage, so they already launched a coding school in Iraq, and they're trying to launch a platform who will gather all the stakeholders. And the idea is to have, so instead of making the steps just like the developed countries did, so starting formalizing everything and then having the digital, the idea is that to skip this one step and start, for example, in Iraq, start directly with a digital platform where everyone will be involved, and no need for like a physical place where you would need to go to work or for whatsoever.
But that's exactly it. Basically, what we want to do is to digitalize 1337, for example, when it comes to digital skills. But here, what you're doing, it's already a step quite high for people that don't know yet what they want to do. Like, because in a country like Iraq, you'll see kids in Mosul. Obviously, they have aspiration, they want to do things, but they don't know how to articulate what they want to do. And so the idea of the platform is to have a 24/7 automated platform that will interact with the kids, with anyone that has an idea or a project, and tell him, in fact, you have this e-learning opportunity, or that there is that coding school, or you can go to that... So they found the cat, non? C'était pas le chat là qu'on avait perdu? So the idea, and also because you have security constraint, you see, he knows who to come to. Yeah, he wants the finance. So in Iraq, like you say, we want to leapfrog. We don't want to waste too much time doing physical stuff with actual people going around. We want to empower anyone with a smartphone to get their first answer automatically. And so for that, obviously, I'm not equipped. Most of my colleagues are not equipped. And that's typically where we could, for example, work on a project together. Like we would brainstorm, what could this platform look like, etc., etc. We're going to try to do the same in Morocco, actually, with the CCG, because they have been accumulating data for 60 years. They know everything about you, your parents, everyone. They just don't know how to make the most out of the data, to aggregate the data and to try to say in this region, we can predict that this type of project would pop up with that type of financing requested. So they have a long history of guaranteeing, financing to entrepreneurs, to SME. But they don't know how to make the most out of this data. And one of the things that we could help them do is to use it's to use technology to just add so much value, because at the end data is gold as long as you know how to use it. Is there more question? Or everybody wants to go to eat? No, there's still 1 hour. It's too early. So we're gonna continue. We
ask questions.
Huh? Yeah. In fact.
What are your dream jobs? Why did you come here? I mean, simple questions. Yeah, I would love to.
Okay. For me, I was actually studying in the class preparatory. I went out from class dropped out like from school. I even went to university, the same thing, because I didn't like the system. I didn't like the way actually we are working there. There is like no spirit for working or for learning new things. You only like get things and just memorize things and put them on the paper in the final exam and get the mark and get your diploma and do whatever. It's not really something that's valuable. After that, I got a job and I was working. That was the time that I found out about 1337. First time I didn't believe that there is something like this in Morocco, but actually it was a great opportunity for me. It's have been now 7 months, and I can tell you there is really a big change in me, and I can see like there is even big change in my friend, and I know how to work together now.
Oui, comme annoncé sur le futur du travail, il va y avoir certainement un glissement du paradigme travail vers activité. Et donc, certainement, beaucoup de gouvernements vont il y en aura déjà qui ont commencé, il y en a déjà qui ont commencé, vont instaurer une espèce de revenu universel inconditionnel, revenu minimum, appelons-le comment on veut. Est-ce que la Banque mondiale prête à des gouvernements qui ont l'intention d'instaurer ce genre de mesures?
Non, je veux dire la première chose. Tu t'appelles comment? Riyad? But you might end up at the World Bank because I never took a single lesson, you know, by hand. I was always drawing. And for me, I was a bit like you in the sense that I didn't like the way we were taught. And at the time, it was we didn't have this type of school or opportunity. And in fact, it's not that we can all fit in one box. It's really about your own journey and the way you want to grow, because there is so many infinity of intelligence that to just have one way to actually try to exploit it, it's not the best way to actually make you happy. And I relate to your story in the sense that I was literally fighting every year up to I arrive at university, so after high school, because teacher, they would not understand that for me, I needed to be creative as they speak for me to register. And so that's why I say maybe you'll end up at the bank, because there is space for people that are creative. There is space for people that are ready to think out of the box, but also sometimes to fight, so that we have an opportunity to think out of the box. And I think that this school is going to create for years to come people that are going to be empowered to succeed. And just as a transition, I cannot remember of actual projects or government borrowing for us. I'm sure that we have technical assistants or researchers working on that, because we have economists that work on the future of work, on pension, and on the way we're gonna tax automation. And redistribute that wealth. So unfortunately, but maybe we'll Google that ourselves and we'll try to find a project that is supporting. But I think it's something that is becoming, how you say that? I think it's going to become a topic that is mainstream in the years to come. And you can just tell that in Rabat or in Casa when you take a Karim, or when you take Uber, because Karim was just acquired about a month ago by Uber. When they went for IPO 10 days ago, Uber, you know, they went to the stock market. Their objective is to get rid of the driver. And so at some point, there will be a question from the policymakers, so the government, How do we deal with this type of company? You cannot let, for example, in Paris or in Barcelona, we have a lot of issue with Airbnb. So essentially, people, they sleep in the street. At the same time, you have all this Airbnb that is non-tax for tourists to come, and that it creates actually huge protests in Barcelona. You have actually huge fights between tourists and local people, because then you cannot even afford to live in your city. So it becomes ghost city, which are untaxed, where there is no livelihoods, and so there is a issue like how are we going to deal with those companies? And the universal, le revenu universel, with or without condition, is obviously going to be something on the table, and many countries are doing a kind of that, because even in France, you know, you have a minimum revenue of, obviously it's based on some condition, but not even the RSA. No, it's not even, and you had some candidate at the last election. They were just offering to double what is already existing. So I don't think it's necessarily something that that will be so much at the margin in debates in the year to come, because the big issue for governments with technology, because here we will always talk about opportunities that technology is bringing. Yes, in fact, everybody likes to pay cheap. We don't want to pay. But at some point, if nobody is paying anything, we're all going to be out of job. So the way we relate to the big tech company, we actually mitigate the risk of losing those jobs, those tiring jobs, those mechanical jobs, is something that we work on. And that's why our World Development Report was on the future of work. So it was really, we took, so the World Development Report of the World Bank, it's a bunch of economists and researchers that of the World Bank that work with economists and researchers from all over the world. And every year we are looking at a specific topic. And the conclusion is not pessimistic, it's just a fact. 1 century ago, you could work in a mine at the age of 8 for 18 hours per day, but it was normal. Today, it's not normal. So it is just how do we adapt? And I think that 1337 is exactly the school that help you to adapt to that, because you have to be agile. You have to, to create your own opportunity, to go at your own speed. And we need to move from, fundamental learning. Basically before you would learn everything from the age of 6 to, let's say, 21, 22. And then basically, then your brain just die until you die. So now today, the world is not like that. Maybe you actually don't need to have so much fundamental skills. And as a matter of fact, I think you have no requirement to come here. Nobody's saying you need Bac plus 5 PhD or whatever. You just need like a well-functioning brain with at least one of the many intelligence that exists in the world. But the most important is how do I keep the appetite, the energy, and the motivation to learn throughout my life, whether it's for my own work or whether it is for a personal reason. So this life learning, it's really what the report was also trying to bring on the table, is how do we move from dumping a lot of money at a specific segment of our age, primary, secondary, tertiary, to see how do we phase the acquisition of skill throughout your life. Because even at the age of 50, 55, you still have something to learn. But our governments and the public policy that they have at hands today are not necessarily conducive for that. And as you say, I mean, I don't know how many coding school you have like this one. I mean, it's what? You have another one that you also run, but then outside. Yeah. Like the model of self-paced sponsor type of learning in the country. Yeah. Yeah. So you see, like one of the things that we work on when we mention digital skills is how does the government, because OCP is a public company, so you could always say it's an extension, but a company is a company, you still have a specific bottom line. And the role of a government, I often say that because they say that in school, there is only two functions of a government. Is a monopoly of violence on a territory, police, the army, etc. The second thing is the ability to tax its people. So I tax you, I tax you, I tax you. The reason why you tax is not for the pleasure of tax, it's for the pleasure of redistribution. Is how I tax you and then I redistribute. Then how do you spend the money redistributing is actually a quick question that the World Bank is interested in. Because when you mention, when you get a debt, it means that you don't necessarily have the resource. So you bet on the future, you are betting on an objective, taking a debt, hoping that this objective will create returns and generate wealth instead of destroying it. And the acquisition of skills throughout your life is in fact something that I think we're very well engaged. Now the revenu universel, I will actually come back to you guys on that, because I'm sure we have colleagues working on this type of topic. No? It's okay, or I dried out all the talking points.
I mean, the obvious thing about universal basic income is that it's really relevant for developed or at least middle income countries. But we have to remember that the World Bank is mainly working with the poorest countries. That's where most of our resources are going. On these countries, I will take the example of Mali that we know well. Like they don't even have enough financing, be it from themselves or from donors, to put everyone at school or to make sure that kids don't die in the deserts. So really, they are like the debate of universal basic income is really far from them in terms of resource allocation. So, and it's the case in many countries we are working in. So, I would say that if the World Bank is doing something on universal basic income, it's mainly maybe in Eastern Europe or in maybe in Latin America. I'm not even sure.
If I may, the thing is that the revenu universel, it's just like the Champions League of social safety nets, because the idea is how do you redistribute money from one side and you put it on the other side. And in fact, the World Bank, we have a department which is called Social Protection and Jobs. You know, everything is said in the title of the department. And their main job is exactly that, how I take money from the rich to redistribute it to the poor. And in Mali, that's exactly it. So we cannot talk about revenu universel, but what we are working on is on a social safety net for the poorest household, for example, that would be the most exposed to conflict, to climate change, etc., so that you have a mechanism to help those guys so that they don't fall under the poverty trap. Because the big issue and the big difficulty with our job is that, okay, you want to eradicate poverty, but it's just not like you win a championship and then you are not poor and you're not poor. You can fall back into poverty. So I would say that this is something that is on top of our mind. And one thing that you are working on, which is at the core of what we think is useful, are the technology. And you mentioned, for example, in Mali, number one priority is how we reduce infant mortality. Or just, I mean, they just have too much baby. But then is how do the baby don't die? How do we make so that the baby, they do not die? Then how do we make sure that the kids, they actually go to school? And right now, most of our countries, they have a traditional way to look at it. You know, you build a physical clinic with a nurse, or you try to build a school with chairs, but it's not about that. It's how can the technology help there? And many countries are trying to do a mobile clinic, remote diagnostic where the doctor can be anywhere in the world. You will just send the diagnostic. You have a lot of nutritional, recipe to help with the child alimentation. In Rwanda, they actually deliver blood pockets through drone, which are actually saving life. You can work on, as we mentioned earlier, the e-learning. So if your teacher itself is incompetent, like in fact, in many of our country, you would see that they just take anyone to be a teacher. At some point, you're even thinking to and telling to yourself, a screen or robot is going to do a better job. And so it's not so much about necessarily the startup and the entrepreneurship, but it's what type of technology the government can use to really help their country move very fast. And there is many examples of that. Maybe I'm not going to go into that, but one thing that we always say to the government is that if you don't start to do it yourself, how can your people believe in it? For example, everybody says digitalization of payment, etc. The first thing we'd say to a government, if you want 100% of your population to only use digital payment, start to pay the civil servants digitally. Stop cash. Stop all this last century type of transaction. So this is also the way we advise. The government has a role to play to promote technology. And obviously, but I'm not going to go too much into that, you go into the issue of public procurement, governance issue, corruption, rent-sinking market with no competition. And that's a big thing that we're also trying to fight.
That's a question for you also. I mean, I'm sure you have many ideas, or you would have many ideas of how tech on the digital technology could solve some of the problems Morocco faces. Don't you have some of them? Some ideas of tech for development, tech to solve social issues in the country.
Who is working on a project that you think would help the poor people of Morocco?
We are actually working on projects. It's going to be like, I don't think I have the right to talk about it.
Okay. It's not too confidential.
It's confidential. Another one that is less confidential.
We also work in a project to help a small farmer to take a decision, to watch a farmer wake up every morning and know how you do using his smartphone or a telephone portable.
Il n'y a pas d'autres idées? Tech for good?
Like, we are working on an agriculture project that will help farmers in Morocco. Like, in Morocco, we have basically the problem of water and water management. So we are working on a project that will use like 90% less water to grow the same amount of agriculture output and vegetables. I hope we will launch it soon. And I hope you will come to see it in working.
Yes, in fact, if we're invited, we will come back. But I think that's exactly a very good example, agriculture, because one strike anyone from outside of Morocco is that when you go to West Africa, you will see melon, tomato, orange coming from this country, so export. And at the same time, the basic cereal the country cannot produce, and they need to import. And so it's actually, you're asking yourself, in fact, for the issue of water. There is no more intensive in water than to do fruits and vegetables. And at the same time, so it's a resource and allocation efficiency. And at the same time, dry cereals or seed plants, we don't grow them in Morocco. And in fact, when its own population cannot eat what they grow, obviously you can eat melon, orange, and tomato, but if you cannot produce what you eat on a daily basis, what you put on your bread, this can also be an issue in terms of sustainability, autonomy, and independence vis-a-vis other countries in the world. So that's actually a very interesting topic. And agriculture, I think it's probably where you can you can have the most impact to reduce poverty in Morocco.
En fait, j'ai J'ai deux choses dont je voudrais parler. La première, c'est une réflexion et la deuxième, c'est le projet sur lequel je travaille. Et donc, c'est mon projet, premièrement, c'est je le travaille avec un linguiste et c'est au Cameroun, en fait. Donc, au Cameroun, on a presque environ 200 langues locales. Et l'objectif de ce linguiste, puisque c'est lui qui a l'idée, et il voudrait que j'utilise les tech skills pour pouvoir digitaliser euh, la transmission de nos langues locales. Parce qu'en fait, nous avons deux langues principales au Cameroun qu'on utilise pour le travail, qu'on utilise. Bref, on a nos langues, mais le fait d'aller à l'école et apprendre le français, ça fait que progressivement, on n'est pas très apte à utiliser nos langues locales. Et pour lui, il s'agissait de pouvoir permettre, en utilisant le digital, de permettre à tout le monde, principalement aux enfants, de pouvoir, en jouant, apprendre leur langue maternelle ou bien leur langue locale. Donc, c'est le projet sur lequel je travaille. Donc, on produit des matériels didactiques sous forme digitale, des plateformes, des applications mobiles, et des e-learning sur YouTube, des cours vidéo, aussi des jeux vidéo pour pouvoir transmettre les langues locales et des formations aussi. La réflexion dont je voudrais partager et avoir votre impression, c'est par rapport à une anecdote sur le business, sur le capitalisme, dont on m'a raconté quand j'étais petit. C'est l'histoire d'un monsieur qui se place au bord de la plage. Donc, un autochtone, ça c'est avant l'arrivée du business, du capitalisme. Il est au bord de la plage, vous souvenez de cette histoire? Donc, en fait, il profite bien de la plage, il ne se soucie pas du monde, il est insouciant, il profite de la plage et il se sent bien. Il a le goût du bonheur. Mais un capitaliste arrive et il lui montre le cocotier. Tu vois ce cocotier? Il demande, oui, je sais que c'est un cocotier, tu n'as pas besoin de me le rappeler. Il lui dit, est-ce que tu as remarqué le cocotier? Il dit, oui, il y a encore des noix de coco dessus et tu es là à paresser au bord de la plage au lieu de trouver quelque chose à faire. Donc, il lui propose donc une idée de business, de pouvoir faire de son business les noix de coco. Et donc, à ce stade, je pourrais m'arrêter pour parler du fait qu'à cette période, l'homme côtoyait la nature et, et se sentait bien avec le vrai bonheur, entre guillemets. Donc, après que celui-là lui propose l'idée de pouvoir faire du business avec les cocotiers, il trouve ça comme une idée géniale et voit une autre source de bonheur et se dit, accepte l'idée de business et commence à récolter les noix de coco de manière intensive. Et à la fin, il se fait de l'argent. Et donc, la question avant de se lancer qu'il a posée à ce monsieur qui lui propose une idée de business, c'est après avoir récolté les noix de coco, après avoir fait le business, qu'est-ce que je vais faire avec de l'argent? Puisque actuellement, je n'ai pas besoin d'argent. Donc, celui-là lui dit, en fait, tu peux te payer un séjour à la plage. Donc, pour pouvoir trouver le bonheur, il est obligé de faire ce cycle-là. Pourtant, il en profitait déjà. Donc, vous, en tant que personne en fait, vous faites la promotion du business à travers la banque et tout, qu'est-ce que vous pensez de cette anecdote?
Merci. La première chose, c'est de dire qu'il y a beaucoup d'opportunités dans l'education technology, parce que j'en vois beaucoup de sociétés, d'entreprises, de start-up qui développent des EdTech, et c'est vraiment des entreprises qui peuvent grandir et toucher beaucoup de gens. Ça, et à tous les niveaux, hein, ça va être au primaire, ça va être pour des classes préparatoires, ça va être pour des skills en dehors de l'école. Donc c'est bien de travailler sur ça, parce que ça peut vous donner des idées ou le goût d'avancer. Sur l'anecdote, mais c'est clair d'ailleurs. Nous, on dit souvent, les gens les plus riches au monde, le seul truc auquel ils aspirent, c'est aller dans un hôtel ou une île déserte, justement, où il n'y a personne et pas de bruit. Pour moi, en fait, le seul truc que je dirais, c'est que la première chose, c'est qu'il faut qu'il y ait un marché pour la noix de coco. Parce que la noix de coco, là, il y a bien quelqu'un qui est venu dire je suis prêt à te l'acheter. C'est-à-dire que tu ne peux pas faire un business s'il n'y a pas quelqu'un qui est prêt à te l'acheter. Ça, c'est la market traction. Donc, si le gars il était sur sa plage et qu'il n'avait pas de marché, il pouvait rester sur sa plage. À partir du moment où il y a quelqu'un qui lui dit il y a une opportunité, après, il y a le consentement ou pas de le faire. C'est-à-dire qu'aucun d'entre vous n'est obligé de créer une entreprise ou de rentrer dans ce système-là. Et d'ailleurs, aujourd'hui, vous pouvez très bien vite, moi, mon propre père, c'est l'exemple de ça. Ce qu'il préfère, c'est être loin de tout le monde, où il n'y a pas de bruit, où il n'y a pas de wifi. Et pourtant, il vit en France, hein, mais son bonheur extrême, c'est d'être quasiment marginal. Et ça, on peut l'être. Mais à partir du moment où on veut transacter, moi, je ne vais pas faire de l'histoire, peut-être que Simon Oussama, ils arriveront à mieux le faire, mais on est passé du troc à des commodités monétaires ou même des crypto-monnaies, parce qu'on va avoir la liberté d'avoir accès a priori en termes d'aspiration à plus de choses. Et c'est notamment la bonne et la mauvaise chose qu'a amené Internet. La Banque mondiale avait fait une étude sur justement comment est-ce que le niveau d'aspiration et la croissance d'un pays est corrélé avec la pénétration du broadband, de l'Internet de haut débit. À partir du moment et souvent les gens disaient, moi quand j'étais petit, on disait ça, ah mais les villageois, eux, ils sont heureux parce qu'ils ne voient pas comment les gens sont riches en ville. Aujourd'hui, le villageois, il voit la ville. Il n'a même pas besoin de quitter son village. À cause de l'Internet, ses aspirations, elles augmentent sans avoir à être en proximité physique. Et donc, à partir du moment où on est dans un monde où on veut échanger, rester connecté, etc., il y aura toujours une majorité de personnes qui apporteront une solution à un problème pour lequel un consommateur peut payer. Et après, il y a beaucoup de modèles. Moi, je ne sais pas si je l'avais mentionné, en fait, avant d'entrer à la banque, j'avais des entreprises. Et c'est des entreprises sociales. Ça veut dire que tu peux faire une entreprise dont l'objectif, c'est de remettre les profits dans l'entreprise. Tu peux faire une entreprise où c'est tous tes salariés qui sont actionnaires de l'entreprise. Parce qu'en réalité, une entreprise, c'est quoi? C'est juste, tu donnes une occupation à quelqu'un afin qu'il puisse après s'occuper de sa famille. Et en soi, c'est déjà un objectif qui est très humain et qui est très sain. Et il n'y a pas besoin de vouloir grandir son entreprise à l'infini, vouloir devenir milliardaire avec. Tu peux avoir un objectif d'entreprise sociale qui répond à un problème, par exemple, environnemental, qui crée de l'emploi. Et chaque dirham que tu fais de trop, tu le réinvestis pour ton staff ou tu le réinvestis pour d'autres causes. Donc, en fait, même en ayant une démarche entrepreneuriale, tu n'es pas obligé d'avoir une démarche purement capitalistique parce que en réalité, par entreprise, ce qu'on veut dire, c'est la soutenabilité. Une organisation qui est une ONG, tu es obligé d'aller quémander un peu. Ah, à la mairie, j'ai besoin d'argent, l'État, j'ai besoin d'argent. Toi, gentil donateur, j'ai besoin d'argent. Tu es toujours en dépendance des autres. À partir du moment où on te donne de l'argent, tu ne peux pas vraiment être autonome en réalité. Par contre, si tu dis, j'ai trouvé un problème dans un village, je vais lui amener une solution à pas cher et cette solution va me permettre de réinvestir dans les équipements et de continuer à l'infini. C'est plus comme ça qu'il faut que vous voyez l'entreprise et le business, c'est ce qu'il disait, que la partie système capitalistique. Aujourd'hui, le capital, en fait, quand on dit capital, c'est que par exemple, toi, si tu investis de l'argent, tu as pris le risque, a priori, tu veux au moins ne pas perdre cet argent. En fait, c'est ça le capital, et il n'y a pas besoin d'y mettre une connotation particulièrement négative.
Oui. Là, on pourrait vraiment, avec cette histoire, on pourrait partir très très loin. Ouais. Moi, j'adore ça, donc si tu veux, on peut en parler après, mais je sais pas si tout le monde est d'accord. Mais en fait, c'est juste que le monde, il est très souvent gris, juste pour être très simple, quoi. Le monde est souvent gris, et cette histoire, elle est très blanche ou noire. Enfin, elle est très manichéenne, quoi. Parce qu'en fait, le villageois, on pourrait poser plein de questions. Nous, les gens qui pensent toujours au niveau macro, on penserait du coup, le villageois, c'est très bien qu'il soit heureux sur sa plage, mais est-ce qu'il a l'accès aux soins pour ses enfants qui sont en train de mourir Est-ce que il est OK de pas les éduquer, de pas leur donner accès à la connaissance et à s'épanouir? Il y a plein de questions à poser. Et en fait, pour tout ça, il faut de l'argent, donc il faut produire, donc il faut qu'il y ait des gens qui produisent. Après, il y a un middle ground entre asservir les gens, à couper les noix de coco sans qu'ils aient aucun temps libre et les laisser complètement sur la plage à rien faire. Mais en fait, c'est juste qu'on peut aller loin et on en discutera après si tu veux. Mais je pense que vraiment, le monde est beaucoup plus gris et beaucoup plus complexe que ces deux schémas, quoi.